This meeting of April 1st, 2020 is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law and was included in a list of meetings notice transmitted to Two River Times and the Asbury Park Press and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building on March 30, 2020. The meeting notice has remained continuously posted as the required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Official action may be taken at this meeting. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of the meeting. Special notice regarding conduct of Borough Highlands Council meetings, excluding general public from meetings. Please be advised due to the current state of emergency and the public health emergency declared by Governor Phil Murphy, and in an effort to prevent further spread of COVID-19, the general public will be excluded from Borough Council meetings until further notice. The public will be able to view all Borough Council meetings live streaming on Council meetings on YouTube. A link for the live stream will be posted on the Borough website. Members of the public will be able to give public comment during relevant portions of the meeting by calling the number listed listed above in this notice. And now call the roll. Councilmember Braswell.
Here.
Councilmember Mazzola.
Here.
Councilmember Valkos.
Here.
Council President Ryan.
Here.
Mayor Brouillon.
Here.
A quorum is formed. Mr. Settembrino has not yet checked in, so I guess first on the agenda will be Cliff Moore.
Good evening, thank you. Just a very brief update. We did have a meeting with one of the developers, Andrew, who is proceeding with the property on Bay Avenue. It was a very productive meeting. He's in the process right now of getting some soil samples done. There may be some issues with those soil samples because a previous buyer had some issues. However, the seller of the property will probably work out something with him. Linda and I had a brief conference call last night with Todd for the mobile park. That went well. It was very, very brief, but the encouraging thing is he has the resources to continue, and he wants to continue. He has some questions for Linda and I. Linda's going to find out about the property. I'm going to send him some information on the property that's next to Valley National Bank, which I know has some encumbrances on it, but he was thinking of using that as an alternate site for some of his affordable housing. I've been supporting whatever on social media with the businesses and sharing whatever information I've been getting in the way of loans and things like that with the businesses. And that's all I have.
Who entered after while Cliff was speaking?
This is Kevin Settembrino.
Okay, thank you, sir. Please stand by. Someone was saying something? I'm sorry.
It was Rosemary. Is he talking to somebody about purchasing that property next to the bank?
He's not entered anything. He had just said that in one of the meetings it was mentioned to him that that property may be available for him to do some development so we could have some place for some off-site affordable housing. And I know that property we've spoken about several times. There might be some encumbrances on it. So he's not done anything, Rosemary, yet. He was just inquiring whether or not that property was available.
Okay. Thanks, Cliff. Sure.
And the other thing is, I forgot to mention that Mike, who's the other developer of the 12 or 13 properties, according to his planner, he's still very, very interested and wants to get started, and we'll possibly set up a conference call with him in a couple of weeks. Again, I just think it's important to keep talking to these people, and I'll be sending out something tomorrow for those on the committee to pick times and days that are best for them, and when we get a majority of people, we'll schedule it. I think right now we've been using Tuesday nights. With everything else going on with all the other conference calls, perhaps an hour in the middle of the day or on the weekend or something, if people are available, maybe we could do it then. But we want to make it as convenient as possible. And I know that Todd had expressed to both Linda and I that he was very, very happy that we still have an open line of communication. And I think, Linda, if you want to chime in here, he's ready to rock and roll on this.
Yes, he made it very, very clear that his company is structured for the ups and downs of the market, that they've been through volatility in the past in reference to the 2008 downturn, and they are financially structured to weather this type of situation, and that there's to be no pause in the process moving forward with them. In addition, I followed up in reference to us receiving the complete contract that we were asking for with the redactions, and he told me that we should have it by Monday.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
Linda, for which property is this for?
He was inquiring about the property next to the Valley Bank. He recalls a conversation that he had with Mayor O'Neill and the possibility of him purchasing that property or some other property off-site so that he could build those sites and build those out with affordable housing.
Thank you. Someone's not muted, so it was hard to hear everything from you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other comments? Hearing none. Next, we have architect Mr. Settembrino presenting a review of the new municipal building.
Good evening, and thank you for having me this evening. I trust that everyone's had an opportunity to take a look at the revised elevations that we have emailed to you. I'd like to take a moment to go through them, or you can ask questions, whichever method you prefer is fine with me.
Why don't you go through them, Kevin?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
So the approach that we took here, as you can see, is we've kept the main building the same. The inside of the building remains the same. We've taken a new approach to the exterior of the building at your direction. And I'll tell you some of the things that we've done. Predominantly, all of the brick was in the lower portion of the building. We changed the brick size. This used to be a 24-inch long concrete brick by 8 inches tall. We've changed that to a CMU, a concrete masonry size unit, so it looks like a rusticated base. And we've changed the color tones of that, so it looks a little bit more classical. We've also put on top of that brown or darker brick, we've also put a little bit of a thicker water table. That's that thin band that you find around the top 1/3 of the building. Above that, we've changed the metal panels to a brick veneer, so the metal panels are gone. We've taken all the windows and on all the elevations, and we've aligned them from top to bottom. In classical architecture, it's typically designed symmetrically, so there typically aren't windows that are misaligned. So we've taken those windows and aligned them on all the elevations. Similarly, we've taken and set back the windows from the lower elevation to the upper elevation, so you have a type of vertical attachment between the lower portion and the upper portion. We have taken the top of the brick where the new brick is, and we put a precast cornice on that to give you some of the classical architecture look. We've taken all the windows and put the mullions and muntins on them with a standard 3/4 pattern that you would find in classical architecture. There are pediments over all the windows. When you look at the main elevation, we now have added columns, symmetrical columns on the main elevation as well, and added mullions and muntins to those windows. On the roof, you do see another element similar to what was on the initial rendering that you saw 4 years ago in that proposal. Similarly, on the long elevations, you'll see some solar panels that are placed on the roof line to reduce some of your energy costs. Moreover, what we've done with the colors is we've tried to get colors that are more similar to some of the buildings in Sandy Hook. A lower, darker rusticated base, a lighter toned brick on the upper portion, and then a patina green roof above it all. So this is our approach to try to take the building and make it a much more classical building, similar to some of the elements that you saw about 4 years ago.
Thank you, Kevin.
I would like to see if you have any comments, anything that we can change, modify, or adjust before we go back to our structural engineer. And our next step would be essentially to get a revised estimate to understand how this impacts the cost of the project, if any.
Thank you, Kevin. I think it looks great. It was exactly what we asked for in that meeting.
First try and all.
I agree. I actually, Kevin, this is Linda Mazzola. I am very impressed. I was not sure with the former structure that it was going to actually, that you were going to find a way to portray it as classically as you've done. So I commend you for that.
Thank you. I mean, this is it's a bit of a modern classical approach. We did as much as we could given the structure that we had, but I do appreciate your comments. Thank you.
I agree. It really is a perfect mix of classic meets modern. Well done.
Thank you.
I have to agree too, Kevin. I think you did a great job. Thank you. Thank you for listening to us and not losing patience and doing what we
No, not at all. Trust me, Lance and I went back and forth multiple times to try to capture some of the intent of classical architecture, given the constraints of the building design, and I think it does kind of balance classical with modern.
And thank you for never rolling your eyes at us.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you for never rolling your eyes at us.
I would never.
We were trying to explain in an uneducated way what we wanted.
What I'd like to do at your discretion or convenience is our next step within the initial schematic proposal that we gave you is to go to our structural engineer. He does have some modifications to the structure based on the addition of brick on the upper third of the building. Similarly, we're adding a bit of a roof load with the solar panels as well, about 6 to 10 pounds a square foot on average. So we've spoken to him about that. He's now going to give us some structural modifications that we can now get to our estimator. So next step is we're going to talk to our structural engineer. He's going to give us some of the modifications, only enough to get it to our estimator so he can re-estimate the exterior of the building. So our next deliverable to you is going to be a revised estimate to see what impact that this redesign has had on the project cost. And then after that, as long as you're amenable to the estimate modifications, then of course we would move on to make the modifications to the actual contract documents.
I think we're in agreement that you are good to go ahead.
Very good. Thank you. The only other question I would have is that now that we've done these elevations, of course we've left them with you. We have full-up color boards that were picked up today. We can go and have our renderer execute a rendering. It may be a little early for that, in case you want to make any modifications or tweaks, but that's up to you. I don't know how soon that you want to see a revised rendering, similar to what you have now, which is a three-dimensional rendering, but it would be with the new design. So you let me know your comfort level with that.
I actually have a quick question. Do you have maybe a sample of what the upper half of the building looks like? The brick that you're using on the upper half?
What do you mean a sample?
I just can't really tell from the drawing what it actually is.
You mean the color, type of color?
Well, it just looks like almost like planking, but so I can't really tell.
No, it's what we're really trying to do with regard to the exterior of the building and the colors and the sizes was be very similar to what they have at some of the officers' row buildings in Sandy Hook.
Okay. All right. I agree with the rest of them. I like it. Looks good. Good job. I questioned you. You did it.
That's right. We went through it and we tried to give you the best product that we could.
Kevin, in reference to now creating a schematic that's similar to the current design with this design, I think to err on the side of caution, I think I personally would feel more comfortable if we had an estimate first. Because
Absolutely. That is absolutely the next step. We are speaking with our structural engineer. He's going to give me essentially, he's not going to do any structural revisions. He's going to give me a narrative with regard to the structure that's going to be modified or enhanced because of the steel because of the brick in lieu of the metal panels. Once I get that narrative from him, I will go to my estimator, and then we will update your estimate with regard to the exterior modifications, and then you'll get that estimate.
Okay, and then at that point, I think we can move forward with an updated schematic, because if this, we need to see it first before we start
absolutely.
publicizing this.
Again, the next step is for us to get an updated estimate, and then it will go back to you for the next decision, and that next decision will be, yes, we can, this revised cost is fine, or no, we need you to make some modifications. So the next thing you'll get will be a revised estimate, and then it's another decision point for you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Any further comments?
I think we're good, Matt.
Can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I will
I'll
make
make
that
the motion. Oh, sorry, I'll second.
I have a motion by the mayor, a second by Council President Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I got 5
Thank you,
ayes.
everyone. Have a good night.
So ordered. We are going to adjourn to executive session now. We will resume the meeting at 8 p.m. or upon the completion of executive session at the same call number. Thank you, folks, and we will see you in a little while.
All right, I'll call back in there. Thank you. Thank you.
The leader has left the conference.